I guess I'm right here. Hello, young man.
So you got mayor's budget, which they're going to wait to do this thing first. I'm sure.
Yeah.
And then we only have the budget and the resolutions and everything.
I looked at the.
That's what
this is going to be PDF. I didn't see that.
Yeah, I didn't
went
see
looking
that.
for that.
I didn't see it at all. But each department's got a kind of
February. They were last 2 weeks of February.
I'm trying to remember from last year.
Yeah.
Conservatory lines. Right, that's right. Where did Lisa? She's not here. They got her cards for They left them in the office. Oh, God.
How are you, Pat? Hey, bud. How are you?
Good, I'm good.
What's happening? It's freezing out there. It's like a wind tunnel over here.
They say it's like the coldest.
Yeah.
See, to remember colder days.
Well, it's also global warming is taking effect. That's why it gets cold before it gets warm. You feeling better from this morning? You feeling better? Good. I'll tell you, that's my wife was over 2 weeks with her, just could not get rid of it. Once you get it.
Flu or the
Yeah, she had the flu. She had the stomach virus, the flu virus, the cough she still has, it doesn't go away. Oh, it's Lisa. Oh, we got to start. No, I got 5 minutes.
Did I tell you about one got Show me how you did it. Oh my Did your mom get mad?
She has to have a shot.
We hired a dispatcher. She's claiming it's because of her age.
That commercial. Read it on the internet, so it must be true. It's a French model. You see that one?
Yeah, try to put a box like this my online dating profile on 6 feet tall. They light us up.
It actually has to. You don't even know.
I know an optometrist. I know an optometrist.
Yeah, right.
We gotta give awards more often.
Yeah, right. And you got to keep them to the end, make more fun. Even though they don't care what's going on, we're doing. But so anything pressing here? I went through this online, but it doesn't look like anything urgent. Just the budget stuff.
Peddler's permit. Somebody's getting a peddler's permit.
Yeah, where did they get it? What's the peddler for permit?
No, I saw, I saw it online, now I don't see it.
It's not on it? Final payment plans, these are all resolutions. Bonding, appropriate averages, what we have there.
I don't remember where I saw it.
Oh, so what's the difference from this one and that one? What do we have to they add something? Yeah, they added the bottom, I guess you forgot. That's right. It's not in the other. Is it on this part? Public meeting? No, approval of minutes. Resolutions. Yeah, you got to do the minutes and the public meeting. reorg. You're on there. I got to do the second reading ordinance, which is the easy. Consent resolutions, Ray, if it comes. Here it is, Peddler's Permit. Renewal of Mobile food vending? I didn't know we had a mobile food vending. Al Shalom.
Giblets. You saw giblets.
Where's the I'm just wondering.
It's a halal truck. Halal.
I'm trying to figure out what it means.
It might be a permit too.
Yeah, it says renewal.
Not the hot dog.
No, it's not the hot
He
dog.
sells the chicken and rice.
No, then it would be, Jose Feliciano.
Hey, that's who the Mets got today, didn't they? Didn't the Mets get Jose Feliciano?
Pedro. He hasn't played in 2 years.
He hasn't played it. I thought of Jose. I said, well, he could be a better player. He's blind. He could fit with the Mets. He could fit right there with your guys. It's rough.
That's him?
Maybe ice cream or something.
No, he probably sells like the breakfast stuff, right? Sandwiches.
Those ones that come around. Oh, like one of those.
The silver trucks.
Oh, you took care of it.
Just seeing a business opportunity.
I'm trying to see what it was.
Why don't you reach out to him?
I used to be a peddler, so I used to be a peddler. I had a school bus with two vegetable store to go. Might come back to town here. You know what? I tell you, that was great.
Yeah.
If I had that today, service, people would want it, but everybody wants it. So you gotta go like that. But you know, there was nothing like walking around your house. Getting a little groceries. Yeah, it was everything you wanted right there twice a week. But what are they gonna do? Who? I don't know. It started I opened, you don't have to file, right? I'm calling that event. You're open.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the Mount Olive Township Conference meeting to order, January 22nd, 2013. Could we all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence for all of our men and women serving in our armed forces.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mrs. Lashway, would you please read the Open Public Meetings Act announcement?
According to the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting has been given to the Daily Record. Notice has been posted in the Municipal Building, 204 Flanders Drakestown Road, Bud Lake, New Jersey, and notices were sent to those requesting the same.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Fronte?
Here.
Mr. Nicastro?
Here.
Mr. Perkins? Mr. Roman?
Here.
Mr. Walsh?
Here.
Mr. Mania? Mrs. Laybow?
Here. Let the record reflect that Mr. Perkins is not feeling well this evening and Mr. Maney is on vacation. We're going to deviate from our schedule this evening just a little bit because we have a very important group here tonight, and I'd like to ask the mayor, would you please make the 2012 Marsh County Youth Football National Conference and Iron Division Championship presentation?
Thank you, Council President Laybow. This is truly a great honor for me. I actually had the good fortune this year to actually follow this team. I think I made it to 3 of their games, and to say that they were impressive was an understatement. They had a fantastic year. They were fantastic last year. They're going to be fantastic next year. And I know that ultimately we have the makings of a championship high school football team right here in this room. I'd like to congratulate you guys, your parents. You did a fantastic job, and we're all very proud of you. At this point, I'd like to call up Coach Howie.
Thank you, Mayor.
Madam Chair, thanks so much for putting us on your agenda this evening. I know you're very busy. And for those that have been on the council for a couple of years, you'll probably remember these young men. A little bit younger when they appeared in front of you as undefeated Super Pee Wee champions. The only difference between a Super Pee Wee player and a Pee Wee player from the eyes of the league that we play in is that the league doesn't really count the standings of the 5th graders, although we know that as 5th graders they were undefeated and the council honored them for that feat. So this year we moved up into the big division, the 6th grade, which is the Pee Wee division. And just to explain to, well, I'd say the audience, but you all should know what I'm talking about. Morris County Youth Football has 23 teams in the league. They take the top 10 teams, which are the biggest towns by population, and we play in what they call the Iron Division, and the National Division, and they take another 13 towns, which are smaller, and they play in the American Division. So we're in the National Division, and then they take the National Division, and they take the 5 biggest towns, which we're a part of, and we become the Iron, and they take the next 5 bigger towns, and they become the Hills. And we play each other, and at the end of the season, our season was shortened by the hurricane, but we play everybody. And so we won our division, which is the Iron Division of the National Conference, and that's really what we're here to celebrate. The mayor talked about the dominance that they showed as 5th graders, and the dominance continued as 6th graders. So what we did, Council Chair, is we had 2 teams. We played 2 schedules. We played the schedule given us by the Morris County Youth Football League, and during that schedule we finished with a 7-1 record. We then played what we call Central Conference, which is the second game during the week, usually played on Mondays, and in that division we were 7-0. So these young men in front of you had a record of 14-1. So that's unbelievably dominant. But I wanted to just give you some more figures. And guys, this is something I've been working on, and you'll be very impressed by this. When we look at dominance by scoring, we led the entire Morris County League by scoring 247 points while giving up only 53. And I say we gave up 53, but I think you'd say, guys, by halftime, we had those games in such dominant position that we kind of backed down a little bit to let the other guys play. And I'm sure if we kept the pedal down for 4 quarters, that would be closer to 0. So 247 points, 4 and 53 again. So I compared our opponents, and who was the next leading scoring team was Sparta. And again, we had 247, they were 184. And the next one after that was Twinborough, had 173. Now, we don't really care what they did, but I think the important thing to tell you is that if Sparta was number 2 and Twinborough was number 3, both of those teams got shut out by us. So the second leading scoring team and the third leading scoring team scored 0. That's pretty amazing. That's really quite amazing. I didn't realize that until I looked at it. We averaged as a team 25 points per game, and we gave up an average of 7. Again, I think if we weren't such great sportsmen, that number would have been 0. But we weren't there to dominate. We were there to learn sportsmanship. So without getting into too much more detail, I think you're getting a feeling on how dominant this team was, and their future is looking extremely bright. We have had wonderful celebrations so far. This honor tonight is really the cherry on top of the sundae. The boys have been honored in front of their parents. We've had some wonderful banquets, and tonight the mayor has some certificates. What I'd like to do is call up each guy. You get an opportunity to shake the mayor's hand. We'll stay up here. We'll try to get a picture, and I'm not sure if anybody else has anything else to say. Madam Chair, if you'd like to join them with a handshake, we'd love to have you up here.
Oh, thank you.
Before I introduce the boys, again, supervising 33 great football players would never have happened if I didn't have a great coaching staff. 3 of the guys are here. Coach Mike McGrath, who you might recall the last time I stood in front of you as a county champion, was right here with me. So Mike McGrath has been around a long time. Mike Arnone, great coach, helped us out, and Paul Ewan. Also Dave Smith and Angelo Diana and John Colabello. They couldn't be here this evening. So this is about the boys, so let's keep it that way. We could talk about our coaches some other time. So I'll call you up alphabetically, gentlemen. You come up, and I think at this point, if I mess up your name, forgive me. It's been a long time. Our first recipient tonight, Tamar Albritton. I should also add that you'll see most of the boys are wearing a real special jacket. Tamara, you can stay up here. Stay up there. And those jackets were, that's their trophy that they get for being a champion in the conference. Stephen Anton. Michael Arnone. Logan Bailey. Logan's not here. Noah Belcastro. Alex Bramble. Chris Carpini. Nolan Clark. John Del Pesci. Mario Fontenez. Joey Garcia. Brandon Hart. Christian Hart. Jacob Ewan. Michael Lacone. Eddie Master Domenico. I don't see Eddie here. Eddie's not here. Dylan Mayer. Aaron McKinney. Bailey McMullen. Frankie Meow. Marcus Merkel. Paulie Moore. I don't see Paulie's not here. Paul Moore's not here. Shane Oriolo. Wait. Okay. That's fine. Skip those. Shane Oriolo. Not here. Okay. Stephen Pisa. Not here. Dylan Pompeo. Trayvon Reed. William Reel. Patrick Salazar. David Sargian. I'm never going to say it right, David. Ryan Scheindecker. Duncan Stevenson. Ryan Sullivan's not here. And Andrew Zier. So we have a couple just real quick presentations. We have, some of you guys haven't seen it. This is our championship trophy, guys. This was given to me by the Morris County Youth Football League. This is your trophy, and what I'd like you guys to do, but you could talk about it, is put this in your school. We'll have one of the parents help us out. This will go in the middle school, in the trophy case right by the gymnasium. So this is our trophy that we got from the league that I was presented to back in December. And of course, many of us saw the trophy that we had at our banquet. This is our undefeated Central Conference Championship trophy. Real proud of this one, and what I'd like you guys to do, and if you don't mind, I'm going to present it to the mayor. And let's keep this one in the mayor's office. So, Mr. Mayor, I'm real happy to give you that. And hopefully you can put that in your office. But I'm not done. It looks like we have everybody looking real handsome in their jackets, and we have the gentleman to my right looking a little formal. So we thought we would only be right if we presented the mayor with his own championship jacket. A boy's large. Hopefully that fits. And for me, I have a trophy myself. If there's any guys here that didn't sign it, I have a Sharpie. Come back and make sure I sign it. This is going to end up in my trophy case. So again, thank you, everybody.
Actually, I was approached before the meeting tonight that the team wanted you to have this trophy that they purchased for you for what a great season you had.
Oh, wow. It has certainly been a pleasure, as we know. We take the next couple months off, and we'll be looking to continue to do great things on the football field. Guys, maybe if we can, we don't want to hold up the meeting, can we come a little closer, maybe get one good team picture in with Council President Leibau and the Mayor? Come on, guys.
Okay, so we should go out of Alex, let's go.
There you go. Come on in close. Come on, get it nice and tight. Come on, get it nice and tight, guys.
Yeah.
Get in, come on, get in there. That's fine. Nice and tight. Come on, get everyone in. Go by Sheriff. There we go.
So tough.
Nice and tight. One last time. One last time, guys. Hold these things down. There you go. Down the middle. In the middle, Mike.
Yeah. I know, right? Look at my
We good?
Take a picture, Vinny.
I'm tucking anyway, they can't see me.
Mayor, we had a question. One of my players had a question for you, Jacob. I think he had a question for the mayor.
Could you show us where you're going to put the trophy in your
Right after the meeting, everyone's invited into my office to see where it's going.
Hey, Howie, I sent you a text already. Get me the photo, write up the names of the kids, and I'll put it all in. I figured you would, but I just wanted to remind you in case.
All right, guys, good job.
Maybe the mayor can go show him that. At the end of the meeting.
Yeah.
Mayor?
Where's he going to play it?
In these
The big one.
I'm gonna put in Super Mario.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, where's my one? I didn't do my name.
Yeah.
But does it have to be
Right.
Congratulations, everyone. The mayor's going to take you on a tour for his office. So we're going to take a 5-minute.
What do you want to get, like 30 touchdowns? Is that it? Yeah, you know what? At least, yeah, see? Look at that. That's it, there you go. Take care.
I knew he was selling his house.
There you go.
Super Mario.
Council members, we're going to take we can either take a couple-minute intermission, and then when the mayor comes back, we'll do the budget, or we can go on to the resolutions and then backtrack to the budget. Which would?
Whatever order you want. Let's go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Get that done.
We don't.
Okay, we're going to.
I agree.
We're going to go to the resolutions, and then we'll do the budget.
Oh, right, whatever.
Okay, we're going to just deviate a little bit from the agenda and go on to the resolutions, as the football team requested to see where the mayor's going to place the trophy in his office, and so the mayor is giving our champions a little tour. So we're going to move on to resolutions right now. We have one addition. Did all of you see that in front of your seats tonight? For Mike Pusilowski. He's gonna. I can't believe I butchered his name, because his term expires. So that's added on. Does anybody have any questions, comments on the rest of the resolutions that we have this evening, Mr. Roman?
Fortunately, the questions, I don't see the administration present. Hopefully, Sherry, you can answer this question. On the third one, where we are purchasing lifts in excess of $36,000, do we know how many and what capacity lifts those are?
I don't know, Alex. I have to check with Tim.
So, yeah, at your earliest convenience, if I can at least get that information. Thank you.
Mr. Canning this evening is his youngest daughter's birthday, so
That's not an excuse.
that's a really good
My wife's
excuse.
birthday.
We better hurry up then.
No, I'm done.
No.
The more time I spend here, the less money I spend at home.
This is on tape.
I know it
You're
is.
in
My
trouble.
mother watches these. So.
Mike, could you do me a favor? Can you refrain from making comments like that while I'm drinking coffee? I almost...
Very good. Alrighty, is there any other questions regarding any of the resolutions for this evening? Alrighty, next is ordinances. We have a bond ordinance. Anybody have any questions, concerns about that? Seeing none, is there any old business? I actually have an old business. When we have our meeting for the Old Flanders Sewer project, it's been suggested that instead of having it at the council meeting, that we actually have it at a separate night, have it really informal. Not any of us sitting up here, everybody sitting around together and discussing the whole project together. And I wanted to get a feel, what's everybody feel about that? How do you feel?
I'd be in opposition to an informal meeting, only because it might not allow for dialogue to move freely. In other words, by having a non-formal, that it's hard to get everybody at least to not talk out of turn. And I think we run the risk of letting it get out of control. In a more formal setting, it's easier to keep emotions. Not that I would assume emotions get out of hand, but I would be against an informal setting.
Mr. Castro, and then
I have to agree with Alex. I think a more formal session would be more organized because of the question and answers, the dialogue. It'll be a lot easier, I think, for even people like myself who hear more about it and understand more about it up here than informally, because would be a lot better, I think.
Mr. Walsh?
I'm just fine with however you all decide.
The next question would be, instead of having it on a regular council meeting night, do you want to have it on a separate night, so it's a special night just for the residents? Or the other thing I was thinking, if we meet a little bit earlier and have the public portion first and get our, the public meeting first, get that out of the way for anything that needs to be voted on, and then vote the rest of the time? Or just have a totally separate night? Because we want, this is a really serious concern for everybody, Mr. Roman.
In order of preference, regular council meeting, regular time, separate evening, and then lastly to do it earlier. That would be my least preferred way to do it, is start the meeting earlier.
Earlier, okay. So,
you know how long it takes to look like this?
I know. You start he starts as soon as this meeting's over with tonight, he gets ready
for the next meeting.
So, what I'm hearing then is that we want to keep it on a regular council meeting night.
That's my opinion on that.
Mr. Nicastro?
I guess it just depends on the agenda for the council meeting first. If it's a light night, it's fine. If there's a lot of stuff on there to discuss, we don't want to mix it in there. I would think it would take, residents would wait forever. Oh, I'm just moving on down.
The question would actually go to Sherry then. For the most important thing out of a council meeting is paying the bills. So if we were to start off with the bills and pay the bills first, and then if we have any resolutions or ordinances, we can do them the next meeting. How does it affect?
That's my preference.
When is this meeting scheduled?
The
right now?
second, we're shooting for the second meeting in February?
February
I think
19th,
We
right?
may, depending, because I'm actually going to be in Vail that week. I think we may ask if you guys can do it the first week in March. I'll talk to Sean
Okay.
about it tomorrow if that's okay with you guys.
Okay.
Just so we make sure that that I'm here and prepared for it. But either way, however you guys want to do it, informally, formal meeting, that doesn't matter to us. Just I think I'm going to talk to Sean tomorrow. If we can maybe do it that first week in March, it might be a little bit easier for us.
Okay, yeah, because I know
If that's right with you guys.
we won't be ready for it the first week in February, so then we would do it the first week in March. Okay, so the only thing that would depend on for what needs to be done that night, any pressing issues, and I would suggest that we do those first and get them out of the way, or do we want to meet with the residents first, or we want to think about it and everybody? But basically, everybody's saying we want to keep it the same as a council meeting night, because that's pretty much in our schedules. This is Tuesday is set aside, but we do want the residents to understand that it's very important, and we're going to set aside as much as we can for the evening.
If people are already accustomed that, the business of the township is done on a Tuesday in a council meeting, so they can plan way ahead of in their schedule to, if they want their voices heard, to come during a council meeting. I mean, look, we've stayed here plenty of times till 10, 11 o'clock at night. I'm in no opposition to staying that late if residents want to make their voices heard. So, in my opinion, regular council meeting, regular schedule, I think is more than enough time.
It was, approached, I was called this afternoon and I was asked if we were going to change the setting procedure, and so that's what we'll do. We'll keep it, possibly it'll be March 5th, I think it is the first one, and we'll iron it out and then see if we can keep the agenda as light as possible for that meeting. Mayor, do you have input on this?
No, whatever council would like.
Okay. In the meantime, before we do have that meeting, I'm sure all of us are very familiar with Old Flanders, but if we could just go and take a closer look and see the layout of the land, the homes that are involved, just to get I was down there today and just checking out. There's a lot of properties there. If they had to put in a septic, a new septic would be really difficult. So, all right, thank you. Do we have any other old business? Seeing none, do we have any new business? Okay, seeing none, we're on to our budget.
I'm just going to turn the lights down.
Might want to open the door also.
Why, you did something?
Oh,
No,
yeah.
it's just an open meeting.
Yeah, that's true. Who closed it?
That's what
Would have been closed
Oh.
just for, because it was hallway noise.
Maybe.
He didn't get the joke.
Yeah, he he's not feeling it. He's getting close.
Sherry, my grandson was sitting at my desk today working on the budget, and
Oh, really?
yes, he actually
He's
unraveled
CFO
all.
in the making?
Yes, he unraveled all of my whiteout. He was marking out a few things.
That's too funny. Well, hopefully not cutting anything, Colin. Okay, so I'm back. I feel like I was just here doing the 2012 budget, I don't know, like a week ago or something. Doesn't it seem like that? I was getting ready for this, and it just, I don't know, it feels like we just did this, but anyway, just real quickly, we like to give an overview of where the budget is. Anybody look at it yet? I always ask that question.
Yes.
Yes, you have. Okay,
Yes.
so that's great.
I'm single now, so yes.
Oh, okay, so this is your nighttime reading, got it. All right, so we began work on the budget in September. That's what we always do. We sent requests to all the departments, boards, and organizations, and we had our administrative hearings with the departments in November of 2012, and we actually gave the budget to you, I think probably the earliest that we've done since I've been here. I don't know, it was maybe a week almost before it was due. The budget dates have been changed. The budget has to be introduced by March 15th, and it has to be adopted by 4/26. So I know, Colleen, you were talking about the meeting for Flanders being the first meeting in March, so we'll have to see, where we are in terms of getting the budget introduced by the 15th. I'm not sure, what the next meeting is after that, so.
The 19th, so we'll be past the deadline.
Yeah, it may be that we'll be okay. I have to check. but something to think about. We can do local budget exam this year, so we don't have to wait for approval from the division, which is great. That's like once every third year, just so everybody knows. Let me just real quick go over some laws that are affecting the budget. Obviously, we still have the property tax cap law, which is the 2%, and we still have the appropriation cap that's been around since the 1970s. We're well under both those caps. It's actually interesting, I did the calculation for the property tax cap the other day, and we're like 1.4 million, I think it is, under it now, so the number is continuing to grow. So I think there's a lot of towns out there that would be envious of being in that same position.
Could you say that again? I'm sorry.
The property tax cap, if you don't use what you can, Pat, it actually
up to
banks for a
2%.
couple of years. So our
Right.
bank now is up to 1.4 million, which is great.
Yeah.
Chapter 78, as everybody knows, that affected changes in health benefits the employees had to actually contribute. Our contribution for 2013 is now up to $219,000 as a result of that legislation that was passed in 2011. Both of the unions actually were required to kick in this year because their contracts were up, so that's why there was such a big jump. Up until this point, only the exempt supervisory employees were contributing. Pension reform, obviously, that's been a big thing on the state level, and because of that, we've actually had a decrease in the pension bill of $14,000. Not a big number, but there were years where we went up, over $100,000. So the fact that we had any decrease is huge. Okay, the overall budget summary. The 2013 budget has an increase in overall expenses of $353,000, which is only 1.3%. The municipal tax rate we're projecting to be 0.606 as compared to 0.590 in 2012. The annual municipal tax increase is $48.54. That's for a home that's assessed at the average. Assessed at the average. The average is $311,000. We've talked previously about the rateable base, and I just talked to Jack today, and we do expect that it's going to remain the same despite the fact that we had some tax appeals that came through, and again, that's because of the added assessments that we were able to put on the books in 2012. The tax dollar increase is 2.64%, and there is no increase to the sanitation district tax, so that will remain the same. All right, a tax point is still $300,000. It's been $300,000 for us for a while. So what I always tell everyone is if you want to reduce taxes by $30, then you need to increase revenues by $300,000, or you have to reduce expenses by $300,000.
Sherry, do you want
Yes.
us to ask questions as we go along? or
Yeah,
wait
go
till
ahead,
the end?
Colleen.
I just want to ask you, with the sanitation,
Yes.
there's no increase. With the new proposal at the end of this year, how is that going to affect it for next year?
You're talking about purchasing the trucks?
The trucks and...
Yeah. We are going to be raising that in the sanitation budget over 5 years. Okay, so in the 2013 budget, I actually have 1/5 of the ordinance that's on, that's on for tonight is actually in there. So we're going to raise it.
Okay.
Okay.
But starting next year?
No, it's actually starting this year.
For this year, okay.
Yes, because we had bought a recycling truck last year, so that's in, as well as the down payment for the ordinance that's on for tonight.
Okay.
Okay? Everybody, the big question is, how does this compare to our previous budgets? And when I looked at the average annual increase from '99 to 2012, it was $70 or 5.54%, so we're well under that, I like to just put in some quick charts. Don't really have to spend a lot of time on them, as I always tell you, but just so you can kind of see. This chart is an overall recap of the rateable base. You can see that we've been pretty consistent for a few years, which is a good thing. The tax pie, the big thing to note, obviously, is that, the municipal portion is right now at 20%. Obviously, the school piece is the biggest piece, and that's 67%. No surprise, but, when you actually see the chart, it kind of, it's enlightening, I think.
It is, it really is.
All right, let's talk about surplus real quick because we had a great year last year. Our surplus balance was $2,881,000. It was only like $11,000 basically, if you round it up, lower than it was the year before. So we obviously did something right. And the decrease is actually pretty nominal when you consider all the additional expenses that we incurred for Sandy last year, because they were huge. What helped surplus? Our tax collection rate was 98.61, and we also had the large premium of almost $300,000 that we got from the bond sale. This one I was going over with the mayor before. Surplus. It's interesting because you can see sort of the peaks and valleys in terms of surplus, and a lot of that had to do with the fact that when I first got here, we had a lot of development going on, obviously. So while we were generating surplus, we were also using it too. But as you can see, my goal has sort of been to keep it level, and that's been happening the last few years, which is why I think we've been able to do some things that some other towns haven't. Okay, let me just go through. I'm going to highlight some of the significant changes in revenue and expenses. In revenue, we decreased what we use in surplus by $225,000. The reason for that is because I did a regeneration calculation to see what we were going to regenerate for 2013, and I felt that we needed to use less. Delinquent taxes increased $108,000 because the amount of taxes that are outstanding as of the end of last year went up a little bit over the prior year. Local revenues are down primarily from the loss of money that we're getting in from the court. That's been dropping a little bit every year. Interlocal revenues increased about $9,000. That's primarily because, we're getting like annual cost of living increases on those contracts. Special revenue items increased to $135,000. That's because we have money that's coming from sanitation as a down payment on the ordinances that we have, the ordinance that we have on for tonight and the recycling truck that we bought last year. Tax revenues, they went up $467,000. That was to balance the budget. Okay, real quick, I just did a pie chart of the breakout of our municipal revenues. Every year, the amount that we need to raise in taxes is increasing. Obviously, why is that? Well, obviously, state aid is dropping, and the money that we're getting from local revenues is dropping a little bit, so the offset is obviously the increase in taxes. So you can see the biggest piece of the pie is obviously the tax piece at 69%.
Sherry?
Yes.
So is that state aid, is it 8%?
Yeah, state aid is 8%.
And that's for the municipal side. Is it similar on the school side? Do you know?
I don't know. I can't speak
Okay.
to that piece. I don't know.
And what was the largest you've seen since you've been here as far as state aid percent? Do you recall? I'm just curious. How high has it ever been? Approximately. Not,
Or nominal figure?
I
want to say, Pat, maybe 10 to 15% is probably where it was when I first got here.
Okay.
Yeah, rough guess.
And has it constantly gone down, or has it fluctuated up and down, or in your opinion? I'm just.
It typically goes down. I think
Yeah.
last year we stayed the same, and this year I expect we're going to stay the
It seems
same.
to me that it's just continued to go down over the years.
Yeah, I would say the early part of 2000, that was definitely the case.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, let's talk about the expense side. Salaries and wages. We actually decreased salaries and wages by $148,000. The main reason for that is because we had a lot of retirements. We had a lot of people leaving, making, potentially twice what we hired new people for. We also delayed some of the new hires, like, for example, in the police department. Library, their third of a mil requirement dropped by $38,000. That's based on the net value of the property worth in the town. So it's not a number that we come up with. It's actually generated by the state, and they're going to be $38,000 less. Pension contributions, I already talked about. Those are going down $14,000 as a result of legislation that was passed. Debt service is going up $305,000. The reason for that is because we had a new bond sale in 2012, so obviously we have additional debt that we have to pay. Utilities are dropping about $27,000. We've seen a great success from the fact that we've done the New Jersey SEM, and I am continuing to see that the bills are dropping, so it's worked for us. Legal and audit increased about $50,000. The main reason for that is because of anticipated planning board litigation that we see right now. Okay, capital. Capital went up $44,000. That's based upon the mayor's recommended capital plan that's in the budget book, so you can actually take a look through that and see what we're proposing for 2013. And it also includes the new sanitation trucks that are on for tonight. Insurance went up. This was a big jump for us, $304,000. I did an analysis on this, and what I saw was that the main piece of the increase came from the retirees. You know, remember, we have a lot more people retiring, so we're paying for their coverage, and we're also paying for the coverage of the new people that are coming on board. Okay. And the reserve for uncollected taxes, I actually increased this $25,000.
Sherry, excuse me.
Yeah.
When somebody retires, do they have to contribute to the insurance as if they were an employee, or do they continue with the benefits and the pay?
We don't have
schedule?
anybody who has retired that is contributing right now, Colleen.
Okay. So how does that work? That's my question. Will they have to comply with whatever the new, like you said?
The new legislation that was passed, I believe, people that fall within a specific window will have to contribute when they retire, but the people that are retiring are already beyond that window.
Beyond, okay, that's what I
So
thought.
they're not contributing.
Colleen, that's the reason why we had so many retirements, was because they were
Yeah.
trying to avoid, those who were eligible were trying to avoid the
That's
automatic contribution
ba-
aspect of the law.
Basically, that's what I was pointing. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to point out, that people, because that question's already been asked.
Yes.
So,
right
thank
now, we
you.
do not have anything coming back. Reserve for uncollected taxes, I increased that $25,000, and the reason is because I took a look at the history of the appropriation, and I hadn't increased it for a while, and I just felt that it was important to do. That's set up to cover accounts that, you know, don't actually pay by the end of the year, because we still have to pay our school and our county taxes in full. Okay, another pie chart that I did just on the expenses, you know, the biggest piece of the puzzle is, you know, obviously the salaries at 34%. And, you know, as I always say, no surprise, because we deliver our service through people, so certainly salaries are going to make up a big piece of that pie. Okay, and then just a few fast facts. We still have $85,000 on hand for tax appeals, which is great. So we have a little bit of cushion there. We have $111,000 in our unemployment trust for unemployment claims. I didn't put in any new money in the 2013 budget because that should be more than
That's fine,
enough
yeah.
to carry us for a while. We also had $55,000 in the snow trust for storm control costs. So, you know, it's early in the game yet, but it's nice to know that we have it.
Sherry,
Yeah.
how is that figure compared for the last 3 to 5 years?
That's actually high for us, Alex.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Usually
it's
like
it's a
30,
good
right?
number. What?
Aren't we usually like in the 30s?
Yes, exactly. So this is good.
Very good.
Budget hearings we have scheduled for 2/16 and 2/23. I already have I think the schedule's final. Colleen, you wanted to talk about capital, I believe, maybe
Yes.
before then? So did you
No.
want to meet a little earlier, because we're not starting till 9 to do that, or?
Do you think we'll have enough time for the capital and just leave the schedule the way it is, or do you want to start it?
Yeah, I'm thinking you should probably start a little
little
earlier,
early.
probably. Like maybe do 8:30 instead of 9?
What Sherry's talking about, normally, when I first came on council, and before I was on council and I'd come to the meetings, they would do capital and the regular budget all at the same time. And I personally prefer to have everything at once, you know, to hear, because it's like every single time we'll turn around and wonder about the capital, and then they have to come back. So what I've asked is that when each department head comes, that we just discuss it together, the capital and their operating budget at the same time. So what Sherry's saying, we'll have to start like a half an hour early, 8:30, is that okay? And do you agree? It's better to just do it all at one time?
Do you want to, I thought you wanted to go over the capital first with everybody, though, before you met with the departments. Or did you just want to incorporate it, Colleen,
Just-
in the discussion with them already?
Right, yeah,
Okay, then
just-
we'll just leave it.
I'll leave it,
Then we'll
okay.
just leave it, yeah.
Yeah, because every single time they'll say, oh, we're going to do capital, I'd rather just get it all done and we're finished, and we just look at the whole picture at once instead of
Okay.
disjointed.
Yes, got it.
Do you think that works better, too?
Yeah, I mean, some of the departments, you know, like DPW, it may be a little hard getting in their operating and their capital in an hour.
Mhm.
The budget hearings have sort of gotten away from dealing with the numbers and have been more talking to them about operational
Mhm.
things. That's what I've seen. So,
Mhm.
you know, maybe the way to do it is to just sort of focus on the numbers and not deal with the operational issues.
I sent out an email and I asked everybody in council if they have any questions that are, you know, if we could ask them ahead of time, so that that'll alleviate some of the time too. And for instance, Gary Lindsay always gets asked a question, how many building permits are there? If he would have that information, so we'll have it ahead of time, because these questions, come up, and that way we'll focus more on the numbers, and, because I want to try and run it as streamlined as possible, but inclusive of everything while we're here. So,
Okay.
and certainly
So
if anybody...
I'll make sure they know to be prepared for capital when they come to that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Is one of those days President's Weekend? 16th to the 23rd?
Yeah.
It'll be the 16th, right?
I'm going to be away that weekend on a college visit, so.
I think it is.
Okay, and then just always our thanks to everyone for helping us put together the budget. It's always a work in progress, so we appreciate everybody coming to our meetings, answering all our questions, et cetera, et cetera. Any other questions?
No, very clear.
No,
I
not
think
right
you're
now.
doing a great job, and
Thanks.
to get the budget so early, and congratulations to the mayor, and to Sherry, and all of the department heads for doing an excellent job with the budget. It's extremely impressive. Anyone
Thanks,
else?
Colleen.
You actually have no idea how impressive Sherry is, until you sit on the other side of the table. It's just, couldn't be done without her.
I have to
Thanks.
say that Sherry has, I've always had a lot of questions over the years, and it's really been fantastic to be able to call Sherry and ask my questions. I don't, she explains everything really well, and it's really, we're very, very lucky. Really
Colleen.
appreciate it. Anyone here have any comments, questions?
Just thank you. It was very clear. Very easy.
If I could just make a comment, Sherry, I think the reason you had alluded earlier about that the budget hearings kind of go away from the numbers and go into policy, I think that is because that's probably one of the few times that we as a collective group get to ask department heads. So unfortunately, I know I don't see that changing anytime soon. I do know of other townships that have, bigger, where they have department head meetings, in which case, yes, you get to ask those questions then. But, I doubt that'll change anytime soon.
What I was going to say is sometimes towns actually meet with the departments. I've been in towns where they meet with the departments at the end of the year, and they talk about the operational issues then, and then when they go to the budget hearing, they're literally just talking about the numbers at that
Which
point.
makes sense.
So, maybe that's something that you want to do, I don't know, but, they sort of come prepared with all these facts and figures, and a lot of times we don't even talk about the numbers, so, it's just a thought.
No, I for one, would welcome any opportunity to speak to the different department heads, more, intense, meeting. So, if we ever want to go that route, I'm definitely on board with that.
Let's not forget that the department heads are always available to any council member that ever wants to go speak to them. There's absolutely no prohibition or, you know what? We have an open government, the 8 of us. Go speak to them. If you have concerns, I understand the benefit of having everyone together while we're speaking to them, because you can feed off of someone else's question that you might not have thought of, but notwithstanding, if you have questions, go speak to them. And let me know if you hear something that either is a good idea or needs to be changed.
Mayor brings up a really good point, and one of the things, I think it's really nice whenever I come up to Town Hall, I try to stop by all the departments and say hi and how's everything going. And when I actually had stopped in the building department, Gary Lindsay had mentioned that what tends to be frustrating for him is that a lot of people don't understand they have to plan to get the permits, and all of a sudden they're running out of time becomes their lack of planning or not knowing that they had a plan all of a sudden becomes his emergency. And I had asked, could we do an article? I think she put it out in Joe's, Lisa Pignataro right away got on it. And just like a reminder to the public that you need, if you're going to be doing something, you need to allow time for it. And I think that's really good, where, we go around and we talk to everyone, and it's nice that they feel that they can talk to us and let us know what's going on.
I think when you come out to the department and you actually see what goes on, it's a whole different experience than somebody coming and just talking to you about what they do. Like I know if you walk into my office when it's tax time, you have a whole different perspective of what goes on.
Yeah, it's really good. It's nice to, you go in and you really get the feel for what's going on. And every department, everybody's really busy with one thing after another, somebody coming up at the counter, and it's a very, very busy town hall, extremely busy. So, but We could if we wanted, if the department heads ever wanted to come and talk to council, they have an idea about something, they're certainly always welcome to come, but then they're at work all day long, but maybe we could say for the budget, like, let everybody know this is your schedule, we'll try to adhere to it, but we may run late because we don't want to cut anybody short.
Yep.
And I think council members, I know we're scheduled till 1 o'clock, but we should probably avail ourselves to at least 3 o'clock that day in case we do. Is that okay with everybody? Because if somebody's talking and they want to share something, we want to, I know I like to hear what they have to say.
Whatever works.
All right, excellent job.
Thanks,
I
Colleen.
appreciate it. I just have to, my son's trying to reach me. I don't know if he has an emergency or not, so. Do you have anything else that you would?
No,
You're
I'm
all
good.
good? Any other council comments for the workshop? Can I have a motion to,
We got
I'm
the
sorry.
public portion.
We have our public portion. Seeing no one from the public this evening who wants to come up and talk, close the public portion. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we are on to our public meeting for this evening. Just move my papers around a little bit. Mrs. Lashway, could you please read the Open Public Meeting Act announcement?
According to the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting has been given to the Daily Record. Notice has been posted in the Municipal Building, 204 Flanders Drakestown Road, Bud Lake, New Jersey, and notices were sent to those requesting the same.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Ferrante?
Here.
Mr. Nacastro?
Here.
Mr. Perkins? Mr. Roman?
Here.
Mr. Walsh?
Here.
Mr. Mania? Mrs. Laybow?
Here. Again, Mr. Perkins is not here this evening. He's not feeling well. He's under the weather, and Mr. Mania is on vacation. And could I have Mr. Walsh, could you please move the minutes for December 18th, 2012? Mr. Walsh and Mr. Ferrante were absent. January 2nd, reorganization meeting. Mr. Walsh was absent. And January 8th, 2013, our workshop and public meeting, Mr. Walsh and Mr. Mania were absent.
So moved.
Do I have a
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion on the minutes? Nope, seeing none. Can we have a roll call?
Mr. Ferrante?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mr. Roman?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Abstain.
Mrs. Laybow?
Yes.
Uh,
Mr. Ferrante, did
Yeah, I'm going to abstain on December 18th, public meeting.
that was Baby Day, Baby Joseph Day. Congratulations
We were
again.
wondering why that was looking familiar, right? That looks familiar.
Where was I that day?
Yeah, well, everybody's doing great. Okay, for correspondence, we have 50 pieces of correspondence. Does anybody like to have any discussion on any of the correspondence? Seeing none. Ordinances for public hearing?
We don't have any.
No, we don't have any, but I want to get it for the next one. We don't have any of the ordinances for public hearing. We have ordinances for first reading. Our second reading will be February 5th, 2013. And next, that item is our ordinance number 1-2013, bond ordinance providing for various capital improvements of the Township of Mount Olive in the County of Morris, New Jersey, appropriating the aggregate amount of $1,318,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $1,252,100 bonds or notes of the township to finance part of the cost thereof. Mr. Nacastro?
Thank you, Madam President. I move that ordinance number 1-2013 be introduced by title and passed on first reading, and that a meeting be held on February 5th, 2013 at 7 p.m. at the Municipal Building, 204 Flanders Drakestown Road, Bud Lake, New Jersey, for a public hearing, consideration for second reading, and passage of said ordinance, and that the clerk be directed to publish, post, and make available said ordinance in accordance with the requirements of the law.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none. Roll call, please.
Mr. Ferrante?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mr. Roman?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mrs. Laybow?
Yes. Alrighty. Consent resolutions. We have 1 through 10, actually, because we added the one from Mr. Pusilowski. Mr. Roman, did you want to ask the mayor if he knew the answer to the third one? The lifts?
Mr. Mayor, previously I had inquired about the third resolution for the expenditure of over $36,000 for lifts and equipment, and I had asked if we knew how many and what capacity lifts those were. Sherry did not have that answer. Or
Yeah, I don't think we're going to be spending $36,000, Alex. We usually just do the resolution so we can use the state contract, and in the event that we're going to go over, which usually doesn't happen, it'll cover us. So I'm sure it's going to be less than that, but I don't know exactly what.
If you could send me that information, I'd be interested in partaking, at least my advice on that purchase. Thank you.
Sherry, could you send it to all of us? So that
I always do, Colleen.
Yeah, I thought so. Thank you very much. Any other questions on any of the resolutions? Mr. Roman, would you please move the 1 through 10 consent resolutions?
I'd like the motion to move consent resolutions 1 through 10.
Second.
Could I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Frente?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mr. Roman?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mrs. Laybow?
Yes. Alrighty, no non-consent resolutions. We have our consent motions. Oh, Mr. Roman again, could you please move the bill list and the approval of renewal of the peddler's permit for how do you say that? Absalon Ghibli for mobile food vending.
Before I make a motion to move those consent motions, do we know what food vending service that is?
Avi? He's had a truck in town for at least 8 years.
What truck is that?
I don't know what it looks like, but he's been in town.
Yeah, I've seen the name. I just, for some reason, I can't even recall where I've ever seen his truck.
Comes to town hall.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that?
Yeah.
The lunch guy?
It's like a catering
Ah,
truck.
then
It's a
never
catering
mind. Now I
truck.
know who he is.
No,
I'm
it's a
sorry.
catering. It's the old catering truck. That's
Yeah.
I'm looking for a big truck.
I'd like to move consent motions. 1, the bill list and Mr. Ghibli's permit.
Second.
Any other discussion? Anyone from the public? No. Seeing none, could I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Frente?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mr. Roman?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mrs. Laybow?
Yes. Thank you. Administrative reports, Mr. Mayor.
Just briefly, I'd like to update everybody that we, this morning, had breakfast with the mayor, a function of the Mount Olive Chamber of Commerce. It was very well attended. And after that, met with RE/MAX in Flanders to just let them know what services are available through the township. If anyone knows of any businesses in town that would like to have some type of public relations event, have them contact Lisa. We'll make sure to get out there as quickly as possible.
That was a great function this morning. I think that's the largest one I've seen to date.
Keeps growing.
It is. It's growing, and it was a really nice group of people. A lot of conversation. It was like all of a sudden everybody's like, "Oh my God, it's time to get to work," and everybody's like running out the door. It was like you kind of wanted to stay there. I want to thank Longhorn Restaurant also for opening early and having the chamber there and the mayor. That was fantastic. Mr. Nacastro and I were both able to attend this morning. Alrighty. Sherry, do you have anything else you'd like to? And Mr. Canning is not with us this evening. He's singing happy birthday.
Oh, I hope not.
We want a recording of that.
Do we have
I heard
any-
the lip sync.
Do we have any old business? Any new business? Any legal matters?
Not this evening.
Nothing. Okay, council reports. Mr. Roman, could you want to give us all your reports at one time?
Sure. I have nothing to report on recreation. On the Board of Ed, January 8th, the Board of Ed opened their bids for the bus contract. Obviously, no decision has been made, and I am pretty certain that at their next meeting of January 28th, there will be extensive discussions on that matter.
Thank you, Mr. Roman. Mr. Perkins is not here this evening. I just want to cut in here at this point with well, not with Mr. Perkins, but with the Board of Health, since the Animal Control Officer falls under the Board of Health. I just have to say that Frank Nelson is doing like an unbelievably phenomenal job, and I'm going to give you one example. Somebody had, TNR had found had trapped a cat and had notified that there was a cat that had been trapped in this one neighborhood. And Mr. Nelson actually went through the licenses for those streets looking for a cat with the same coloring description, found a cat that matched it. Turned out the cat that was trapped in the TNR trap was this people's cat. They didn't actually realize the cat was missing because it's an outdoor cat and sometimes will go for a day or two. And I mean, that was like phenomenal. The cat was brought home immediately, and how simple that could be. You just look at the licenses and you see the description. So he just does not cease to amaze me. The job he's doing is absolutely phenomenal. He goes above and beyond, and I'm very, very happy it's working out really well. Matter of fact, TNR, we have a meeting tomorrow with Mr. Nelson and Mr. Wolpert, Mr. Canning, Mrs. Lerner, and Mrs. D'Afonso. We're going to be having one of our quarterly meetings to talk about the two groups. And I digressed there and actually gave my TNR report. So next we have Mr. Maney is not here. So Mr. Greenbaum, Mayor Greenbaum, did Mr. Schechner did you ask him about giving a planning report, or what's he?
I did speak to both Chairman Weiss and to Mr. Schechter about what had occurred at Planning Board, but I don't recall what the conversation was, and obviously I was on trial for the last week, so
okay.
I don't have a report, but I will for next meeting.
Okay, great, thank you, appreciate that. Alrighty, moving right along, Mr. Perkins isn't here for legislative. Mr. Franti, open space, lake,
nothing.
and environmental?
No, everybody meets next week. Or the week
Everybody,
after,
okay.
yep.
And Mr. Castro, safety committee?
Tomorrow evening?
Oh, very good. And I already gave my TNR report. Now I'm going to open the meeting to the public. Seeing anybody from the public want to come up and, no? Close the meeting to the public. Council comments.
Nothing this evening.
Nothing.
Mr. Roman?
Nothing to report.
Mr. Walsh?
No, thank you.
And I have nothing to report. Can I have a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in
John.
favor?
Aye.
Something with that
This
name,
meeting
John.
is now closed. Thank you.
Second. It's like.
Robin, it sounded like you were on trial.